The aroma should have been a welcome thing. Rich tomatoes, basil, garlic, the gentle scent of cheese beginning to brown. It was the smell of comfort, the smell of effort, the smell of home. I'd been tending to it for over an hour, a vegetarian lasagna made completely from scratch, just like my father taught me. When I heard the front door click open and his familiar heavy footsteps in the hall, a smile touched my lips. He walked into the kitchen, dropping his keys into the ceramic bowl on the counter with a loud clatter. "Hey," he grunted, loosening his tie. "What's for dinner? I'm starving." "Hi, honey," I said, turning from the oven. "I made that veggie lasagna, the one with the zucchini and spinach. It just needs another 10 minutes. And that's when I saw it. The shift in his face. It wasn't just disappointment. It was something sharper. He rolled his eyes, a gesture so dismissive it felt like a physical slap. "Oh, for God's sake," he sighed, the sound heavy with theatrical frustration. "Are you serious? More of that organic crap. Organic crap." The words just hung in the air, thick and ugly. My smile dissolved. I thought you liked it last time," I stammered. "I was being polite," he shot back, yanking open the refrigerator door as if searching for an answer inside. "I'm sick of it, okay? I'm sick of all this rabbit food. I work hard all day. I just want a normal meal. I want a cheeseburger." The comment pierced right through me. A cheeseburger. It wasn't about the food, not really. It was the tone. The complete and utter disregard for the hours I'd spent, for the reason I cooked this way in the first place. My chest felt tight. "I don't have stuff for a cheeseburger," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "There aren't any buns." He slammed the refrigerator door shut. The whole frame rattled. "Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Of course you don't. Why would you? It's just so unfair that you make me eat your diet all the time." Unfair. The word echoed in the sudden, tense silence of the kitchen. He had never, not once, said he was opposed to this. He had never said he was unhappy. All I'd seen were the benefits, the new energy he had, the way his work shirts didn't pull so tight across his chest. I thought we were a team. I thought he understood. But looking at his face, flushed with anger over a lasagna that was meant to be an act of love, I realized I didn't know what he was thinking at all. It feels like a lifetime ago, but it's only been 2 years since I packed up my life in Lyon and moved to the States for him. It was a grand adventure, the kind of romance you see in movies. Leaving the cobblestone streets I knew for the wide, sprawling highways of America. I was so excited. I embraced everything, the culture, the people, the opportunities, and I tried to embrace the food. I really, really did. But something was wrong. Almost immediately, my body started to rebel. It wasn't a simple case of, that's too greasy, or I'm not used to these flavors. This was a profound physiological rejection. We'd go out for tacos and I'd spend the next 2 days bloated and in pain, unable to use the bathroom. We'd order a pizza and I'd be violently ill a few hours later, my body expelling it with a terrifying force. Even a simple sandwich from a deli could leave me curled up on the couch, stomach cramping, a cold sweat on my brow. At first, I thought it was just an adjustment period. My boyfriend, Mark, would pat my back and say, "Your European stomach just needs to get used to it." I tried to believe him. I pushed through for months, but it only got worse. The weight started to just melt off me. My clothes hung loose, my face grew gaunt. Food, which had always been a source of joy and connection for me, growing up with a chef for a father, became my enemy. I developed a genuine aversion, a fear of eating, because I knew the pain that would follow. Looking in the mirror was like seeing a stranger, a frail ghost wearing my skin. My family back in France was terrified. My mother's cheerful video calls turned into worried interrogations. My dad, a man whose love language is a perfectly cooked meal, felt helpless from an ocean away. It was on his insistence that I finally sought real help. I was scared. Deeply, existentially scared. I was convinced I had some terrible, undiagnosed illness. Crohn's disease, a severe ulcer, maybe even cancer. Your mind goes to the darkest places when your own body turns on you. So began the tour of doctors and specialists. I became a human pincushion. They took my blood so many times I lost count. I drank barium for scans that made me gag. I had cameras inserted into places I'd rather not describe. I was poked, prodded, and questioned endlessly. And after all of it, they found nothing. Physically, they all said with a reassuring but ultimately unhelpful smile, "You are perfectly healthy." I was a medical ghost, healthy on paper, but wasting away in reality. I felt like I was going insane. The last resort was a dietitian, a kind man with patient eyes who actually listened. He didn't just look at the charts, he listened to my story. He heard about my life in France, about how I never had a single issue there. He heard about the sudden, dramatic onset of my symptoms the moment I moved, and he proposed a theory that was so simple, I almost couldn't believe it. He said, "I don't think you're sick. I think your body, your entire system, is just not equipped to handle the sheer volume of sodium, preservatives, and processing agents that are common in a lot of the food here. It's a shock to your system that it hasn't recovered from." He recommended an experiment. For 2 weeks, I was to eat nothing but fresh organic produce. Food I prepared myself from scratch. No boxes, no cans, no takeout, no restaurants. Just pure, simple ingredients. It was a lifeline. I clung to it with the desperation of a drowning woman. I went to the farmer's market that weekend, my basket feeling foreign in my hand. I bought vibrant green spinach, deep red tomatoes, fresh basil that smelled like sunshine. I went home and made the simplest thing I could think of, a tomato soup, like my father used to make when I was sick as a child. I roasted the tomatoes with garlic and olive oil, blended them with the basil, and added just a touch of salt and pepper. I sat at the kitchen table with a small bowl, my heart pounding. Every spoonful felt like a gamble. I waited. And waited. An hour passed, then 2. There was no cramping, no nausea, no mad dash to the bathroom. There was nothing. Just the pleasant feeling of a warm, settled stomach. I sat there at my table and I wept. Not from pain, but from a relief so profound it felt like a physical weight had been lifted from my soul. That was the beginning. My dad, overjoyed, started emailing me recipes from his restaurant. Modified to be simpler, of course. I rediscovered my love for being in the kitchen. It wasn't a chore, it was an act of survival, an act of self-love. I started meal prepping on Sundays, my kitchen transforming into a symphony of fresh ingredients. I learned to make my own bread, my own sauces, my own everything. The weight started to slowly come back. The color returned to my cheeks. I started to look like myself again. And Mark? He seemed to love it. He'd come home to the smell of roasting chicken or simmering stew and his face would light up. "Smells amazing, babe," he'd say. He ate everything I made. He never once complained. In fact, I saw the positive changes in him too. He stopped collapsing on the couch every weekend, suddenly full of energy to go for a hike or work on his car. He mentioned offhandedly one morning that he had to buy new jeans because his old ones were too loose in the waist. He was sleeping better. He seemed healthier, happier. I thought we were doing this together. I thought he saw this beautiful, healthy life we were building from scratch right here in our kitchen. Which is why his words, organic crap, felt like such a complete and total betrayal. It was as if he'd taken all that effort, all that pain and fear and struggle that led me here, and thrown it back in my face. He stood there, arms crossed, face like a thundercloud. "It's not fair, Claire. I feel like I'm not allowed to eat what I want in my own house." I tried to keep my voice even, to push down the hurt that was threatening to spill out of my eyes. "Mark, you know why I have to eat this way. The doctor, the dietitian. This is the only way I don't get sick." "I know," he said, and the sudden shout made me flinch. "I get it, okay? It works for you. But what about me? I'm not the one with the sensitive stomach. Why do I have to eat zucchini lasagna? Why can't I just have a burger?" "You can," I said, my voice shaking a little. "You can go get one anytime you want. You could have brought stuff home to make one. I never said you couldn't." "Oh, right," he scoffed. "So now I'm supposed to cook a second dinner after working all day, while you've already made this?" He gestured at the oven, at my beautiful, carefully constructed lasagna, as if it were a plate of poison. The injustice of it was staggering. He wasn't the one who had spent months with his head in a toilet bowl. He wasn't the one who had been terrified he was dying. He had been a spectator to my illness, and now he was acting like a victim of my recovery. The meals he'd been enjoying, the meals that had made him healthier, were suddenly a burden. A punishment. "I cook every single night, Mark," I said, the firmness returning to my voice. "I plan the meals, I do the shopping, I spend hours making sure we have good food. I do it because I have to, for my health, but I also do it for us. I thought you appreciated that." "I appreciate it, but I'm just sick of the menu," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "I miss having choices. I miss eating like a normal person." The oven timer beeped, a cheerful, piercing sound that felt grotesquely out of place. The lasagna was ready. A dinner I had made with love, now sitting under a cloud of resentment. He just stared at me, waiting for me to do what? Apologize? Magically produce a cheeseburger out of thin air? I didn't say a word. I just turned, put on the oven mitts, and pulled the lasagna out, placing it on the stovetop. It looked perfect. Golden brown, bubbling, smelling of home and health. Of my father's love and my own will to survive. He just shook his head, grabbed his keys from the bowl, and and walked out the door, slamming it behind him, and the silence that followed was louder than any of his shouting. So here I am. The lasagna is on the counter, getting cold. He's been gone for over an hour now, and I assume he's getting his cheeseburger. I keep replaying his words in my head. Unfair. You make me eat your diet, did I? I never held a gun to his head. I never locked the fridge. I cooked one meal for the two of us, a meal that was safe for me to eat, and he ate it. He benefited from it. He has a car, a job, money. He is a grown man, perfectly capable of buying or making whatever food he wants. Forcing him implies he has no other option, and that's simply not true. The thing that hurts the most is the realization that all this time, while I thought we were building a healthier life together, he was apparently just enduring it, tolerating my organic crap until he couldn't stand it anymore. It makes me question everything. Am I his partner, or am I just his private chef who suddenly changed the menu without his permission? I made these changes to save myself, and in doing so, have I somehow become the asshole?